News with Harry Martin, Sarah Wallace, Mark Stevens with sports, and the Eyewitness News team. Now, Eyewitness News.
The ruins of the World Trade Center a day after the disaster. Investigators all but confirm that this destruction is the work of a terrorist bomb. Good evening, I'm Harry Martin. The evidence is undeniable. The destruction in the depths of the World Trade Center could only have been caused by a powerful explosive. And now investigators are asking who did it and why. The Port Authority allowed our cameras to give you a remarkable view of just where the explosion occurred. If you walk past that red tape, you would fall 200 feet into an abyss of rubble and death. Airports, bus terminals, train stations, government offices, all under tight security tonight in a heightened state of alert and precaution. And this Saturday is a day of mourning for families like that of John DiGiovanni, who was one of the 5 people killed in the disaster. We begin our coverage tonight with Tim Minton, who is live at the World Trade Center. Tim?
That's right, Harry, and on the outside at least it's sort of getting back to normal with the traffic continuing to move, but inside there is so much water where that crater is that the police forensic scientists cannot even yet get to the heart of the problem. But police and FBI nevertheless now agree that the current question is not so much whether there was a bomb, but what kind.
We have the clearance.
To figure out what delivered terror to the Trade Center towers, most investigators point first to the sheer size of the crater left behind. But at a news conference attended today by top city, state, and federal officials, Police Commissioner Raymond Kelly revealed more clues.
I think there are 3 factors: the magnitude of the explosion, the fact that a significant amount of heat was generated, and the fact that traces of nitrate were found. I think those 3 factors strongly indicate that there was some sort of explosive device detonated.
The blast ripped up and down from a public parking garage in the B2 second-level sub-basement. It exploded into the just-renovated Port Authority Police Command Center a level above, disabling communications, and down to a PATH commuter train station 2 levels below, collapsing ceilings onto waiting passengers. For Manhattan DA Robert Morgenthau, who's likely to prosecute any captured suspects, the already known facts leave no doubt about the cause.
No, absolutely. I think it was a bomb and it was done maliciously.
Which creates a tedious and time-consuming task of finding pieces of both the bomb and a car it may have been hidden in and putting them both back together.
We might find parts, and then those parts are all put together. You know, that's why we're going to, when they remove the debris, it will be located someplace, and then they'll go through it with a fine-tooth comb.
As for why there was no attempt at emergency evacuation before the blast,
There were no telephone calls warning of any explosion or any bomb prior to the explosion at 12:18.
Commissioner Kelly recounted a total of 19 calls to police relating to the explosion, all made well after it happened. The first call came at 1:35, more than an hour after the tower shuttered. It was followed at 2:15 by a bomb threat against the Empire State Building, which proved false. And after 3 o'clock, 17 more calls claiming involvement or responsibility. But the callers provided no specific details that would give them credibility, which leaves what happened, not who did it, as Governor Cuomo's bottom line for now.
Looks like a bomb, it smells like a bomb, it's probably a bomb.
And perhaps surprisingly, the easiest job, investigators say, will be once they can get access into that area to find out exactly where the bomb was detonated. They say that through some forensic processes, scientific evaluation, they can almost exactly, precisely establish where the bomb went off. In the meantime, for people who work over in that building, there are 55,000 of them. The big question may be, will there be work on Monday? And Jim Dolan has been exploring that and other issues relating to the building itself all day. He joins us now live. Jim.
You know, Tim, when you look into the mouth of that crater, the enormous hole in the floors of the garage beneath the World Trade Center, it's almost impossible to believe this could ever be rebuilt. Massive beams of steel reinforced concrete blown to pieces. Walls, concrete walls 3 feet thick, shattered like panes of glass. It is the kind of devastation that wars create. But this time, the war came home. The basement of the World Trade Center is a 4-floor pile of rubble today. A vibrant working command center yesterday morning. In the explosion, concrete crumbled like cardboard, and the walls came crashing down. 20-pound bricks flew from their foundation, and 300-pound metal doors blew off their hinges and landed 100 feet away.
If it was a device that was placed perfectly to cause as much damage as possible to the infrastructure of the building.
In the confusion, a prisoner held in one of the Port Authority police cells escaped, and at least 2 of the Port Authority cops were buried in the rubble.
I just heard the bang, I got flipped up in the air, and then everything came down on me.
And the foundation itself was shaken and moved, cracked in places and fully separated in others. This is maybe 100 feet from the center of the blast, closer to the World Trade Center garage. It looks like war. To get an idea of the size of the crater, just take a look over here. We're on the B1 level. That blue pipe you are looking at right now, that is all the way down on the B3 level. The crater actually goes beyond that to the B4 level. Look at the devastation, and then listen to this about what engineers concluded regarding the 2 towers above the garage.
They looked at the columns supporting towers A and B and concluded that they are structurally sound.
Which means only repairs can be made eventually. But how long will it all take? Before any workers, even cleanup workers, are allowed back inside, all of the sprinkler and smoke detection, heating, and other safety systems will have to be back online.
I would say at this point that we've got an extended period to be able to get all of these systems back.
A couple of weeks.
I'm not going to speculate on that. I'm hopeful that we can do it in short order.
We are not going to open the building to occupancy until we're assured that the fire safety systems are operative and all life safety systems, from sprinklers to communications and so on, are operative, and at that point we will open the building.
The engineer's report so far shows that the towers are structurally sound, but, quote, as of this moment we can't say when they might reopen. Best guess, at least several days. The Vista Hotel may have a more serious problem. It has, quote, significant structural issues. We're seeing what needs to be done to brace it to make it structurally sound. The PATH station will be back in shape for rush hour Monday morning, and 7 World Trade Centers should also be open Monday morning. The garage, though, 4 floors of which have been reduced to so much brick and mortar and dangling steel, will be a far more serious, far more involved undertaking. Now, a spokesperson for the Vista Hotel told us just a few minutes ago that they expect to reopen the Vista Hotel in the next couple of weeks. 2 weeks is what they said. Don't know how they came to that conclusion, but that is what they are saying, 2 weeks. How much will it all cost? With all the cleanup, the rebuilding, the improved security that now clearly will be needed, how much will it all cost? Well, we couldn't even get an estimate, even the beginning of an estimate on that figure. But listen to this. Unlike most city and state entities, the World Trade Center is fully and privately insured, so the cost may not be much of a factor. Reporting live from Lower Manhattan, Jim Dolan, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Mayor Dinkins is keeping a close eye on the investigation, returning tonight from a trip overseas. The mayor arrived at Kennedy Airport this afternoon after spending 8 days in Japan trying to drum up business for the city. He then took a helicopter to an area near the World Trade Towers to get a look at the destruction for himself.
From Japan, I saw on cable television, some of this damage and people being evacuated. It's not nearly as graphic as walking in there and seeing that gaping hole.
The mayor then left the scene to visit victims of the explosion in the hospital.
Well, Sarah, rescue teams are still searching the blast site for 2 to 3 people who are still unaccounted for. Right now, 5 people are confirmed dead. They are John DeGiovanni of Valley Stream, Robert Kirkpatrick of Suffern, Steve Knapp of Staten Island, William Mako of Bayonne, Monica Smith of Seaford, Long Island. KUSUDA is live on Long Island with more on the families of the victims. Kay?
Harry, well, we've all heard the words before, but tonight they hit home for the family of John DeGiovanni. They say he was truly in the wrong place at the wrong time. And here in the neighborhood where he grew up, many are finding it difficult to cope with news of his death. Happened at the World Trade Center. Ernest DeGiovanni remembers watching events at the World Trade Center unfold on TV.
And I said, my God, I said, everything happens in New York. I mean, it's just incredible.
He had no idea until later that day that his younger brother John had been killed by the blast. His family says the 45-year-old Valley Stream resident suffered some kind of chest injury and then a heart attack. He died at St. Vincent's Hospital.
You hear something like this on the radio and you usually don't give it a second thought. And it wasn't until, I guess, about 6 o'clock last night that we found out all the Nassau County cops were here. Nobody knew why at that point, and then we came over and It was just a real shock to everybody.
Darcy says his cousin was apparently in town on business and had parked his car at the World Trade Center.
As far as why he was in Manhattan, as best we know, he was in there on a routine presentation to one of his customers. It seems like a kind of freakish thing. It appears he was the only one, or the only reason he was there was he was parking his car in the garage at the time, and then he was going to take a cab over to his customer, who we understand was NYU Medical Center.
The family of another victim, 34-year-old Monica Smith, declined to talk with reporters today. One of Monica Smith's family's neighbors says he is angry about what happened, but he says most neighbors here have agreed not to discuss it in any detail at this point. Meanwhile, the DiGiovanni family says they have a lot of questions they'd like answered.
I'd like to know who, what, when, where, and why. I really would. I'm not going to let it just sit there. I really have to know that.
And John DiGiovanni will be laid to rest here in his hometown of Valley Street. And his brother hopes that investigators will uncover enough to prevent a tragedy like this from ever happening again. Reporting live from Valley Stream, Long Island, KUSUDA, Channel 7, Eyewitness News.
The number of people injured is now listed at more than 1,000. While hundreds have been released from area hospitals, hundreds more are still being treated. Doug Johnson is live now at St. Vincent's Hospital, where many of the victims were taken. Doug?
Sarah, this has been an incredible 24 hours for St. Vincent's Hospital and several others here in Manhattan. Here at St. Vincent's alone, 156 people were brought here from the World Trade Center. One of them died. 7 were placed in critical care units. Several dozen are still being treated here. This was a terrible time for the accident victims and their families, and a time of severe testing for the hospitals. As late as this afternoon, some badly injured accident victims were being treated in hospital emergency rooms. Hundreds had poured into hospitals in a few hours yesterday afternoon. This woman is an asthma victim who walked down from the 31st floor of the World Trade Center.
And all of a sudden the lights went out and we had a big bomb, like we went to the window and we couldn't see nothing, so then everybody said to run. All we saw was black smoke. And we had to walk down all those stairs, and before we get down, it was more smoke. At one point, we couldn't go no further because it was too much smoke. And like everybody was dragging and hollering and said, run, run. And I tell you, that was like a nightmare.
Many firemen were among those admitted to hospitals, even for professionals. Those working near the explosion crater found it a terrible experience.
It was into like the dragon's mouth. As I was looking over the side there, I got a burst of hot steam and fire burning my face.
For hospital emergency rooms, it was a matter of survival of their emergency operating procedures. Triage, choosing who to treat first, was the order of the day.
The concept of triage is immediately make judgments on what patients are critical, what care they need, and where.
I was going to my office when the light went off, and all I had was a big explosion. And then when the light came back, I couldn't even move. I was calling for help.
This woman, who was working in the parking garage where the explosion took place, suffered a broken leg.
Compared to other people, this is nothing really. This is something that it heals in time. But the people that die, you know, I feel bad for them.
Now, one of the people who came here died yesterday afternoon about 2:30, but another woman who came in, a pregnant woman, gave birth to her child by cesarean section. She was in Caesar when she arrived here at St. Vincent's Hospital. The child was born at only 27 weeks, only weighs 1 pound 8 ounces, but we're told that both the mother and the child are doing fine. We're live at St. Vincent's Hospital. Doug Johnson, Channel 7, Eyewitness News.
As you can well imagine, the Trade Center explosion has left the city with a traffic and transit nightmare. Hardest hit is the PATH station beneath the World Trade Center. The ceiling came down, walls collapsed, and Port Authority repair crews are working through the weekend to restore service. Metro Traffic's Ed Arnold has more on what you can expect to find on the roads and on the tracks. Ed?
Harry, right now, PATH service is completely out to the World Trade Center. There's also no service in New Jersey to Exchange Place. However, you will find service to 33rd Street, Manhattan, Journal Square, and to Newark. Now, PATH riders who need to get to the New Jersey side can take the Hoboken Ferry. It's running every 20 minutes till midnight tonight and between 10 a.m. and 8:30 tomorrow. Now, on the subways, there's no C, E, or I service in southern parts of Manhattan. The C, no service below Canal Street, no service in the E below West 4th, no service in the number 1 train below Chambers Street. Now on West Street, it is closed northbound on Rector Street, but southbound reopened a few minutes ago. Traffic very heavy through the area.